Hello everybody and welcome to my very first StarCityGames.com exclusive Magic Online video. I'm going to be playing some Standard today in preparation for Grand Prix Washington DC that's this weekend, also hosted by StarCityGames.com, because the format there will be Standard. And I have not played Standard in quite a while. It's been basically since the first week of Amonkhet since I've actually played Standard, but I've been keeping track of the format overall. So the deck I'm going to play today is going to be a deck that I have named as White-Black Sunmare. There could be a better name for it, but that's what I'm going with. So I've seen this deck do well recently on some Magic Online lists. It's been a 5-0 list 2 days in a row. The first day was August 26th by Rooney56, and then the very next day Channing Tatum also got a 5-0 with the deck with the exact same 75. So we have something going on here, and so let's see what we got. We basically have a mono-white life gain deck, splashing just a few black cards, most notably the best removal spell in the format, Fatal Push. It's just the most efficient answer to any of the cheap threats that are in the format. And there's just so many 1 and 2 mana creatures that you want to be able to kill with Fatal Push. The rest of our removal spells, we don't have many besides our 4 Fatal Push. We only have 1 Declaration in Stone and 1 Anguished Unmaking in the main deck to just try to give us some other removal spells, but not much. We have one kind of weird non-creature spell here in Authority of the Councils. We have 2 in the main deck, none in the sideboard, but the main cause of this card, it's not only an amazing card against mono red, but it's also just a really good way to trigger Crested Sunmare on our opponent's turn, because Crested Sunmare says at the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse. So Authority of the Councils, Authority of the Councils allows us to gain life on our opponent's turn fairly frequently and trigger our Crested Sunmare there. The rest of our deck are basically just threats. So starting with Thraben Inspector, which everybody knows about. Thraben Inspector is one of the very best cards in Standard for the previous formats. Helped get both Reflector Mage and Smuggler's Copter banned, really. It's just such an amazing card, like a 1/2 for 1 that can just replace itself with the Clue token. Very efficient, just a very good card. It's also very good at crewing a card like Aethersphere Harvester. So Aethersphere Harvester is our vehicle of choice because it only has a crew 1, so we can use small creatures like Thraben Inspector or Knight Ally tokens from Gideon Ally of Zendikar to be able to crew it, and we can give it lifelink. And so it's a 3/5 lifelink, which is a key number because we can gain 3 life with Aethersphere Harvester, which is the perfect number for Lone Rider here. Now, this little uncommon from Eldritch Moon hasn't seen much Standard play before, but it's starting to kind of show up here now with Crested Sunmare. So the front side is just a 2 mana 1/1 first strike lifelink, but at the beginning of each end step, if we gain 3 or more life, then we get to transform it into a pretty scary looking Eldrazi horror there that's a real threat, a 4/4 first strike trample lifelink. So that's just amazing rate for 2 mana. So anytime we get to transform this bad boy, this is it's going to be pretty sweet. Glorybound Initiate can also transform Lone Rider as well. It can exert to become a 4/4 lifelink creature when we exert it. And then we have Sunscorched Champion in here. It's not my favorite card, but it is just a nice way to gain life as well. And then it can it's just kind of a regular body 2/3 on its own. The Eternalize, we do have to discard a card, but it's a cheap Eternalize cost of only 4 mana to bring it back as a 4/4. So that's just another card in the deck. Gideon Ally of Zendikar, we all know how good that card was. That card just dominated Standard in Mardu Vehicles and some other mid-range decks back in the day, but with Glorybringers around these days has really put a damper on Gideon overall, but still just such an incredibly powerful threat on its own. And our other black card in our main deck is a Kalidas, Trader of Get. Just one of the best cards in Standard to untap with. Kalidas usually has like a huge target on its head that it has to die right away from the opponent's point of view. But if you get to untap with it, it's just such a huge threat. Our mana base is, nothing too weird with it except for this Crypt of the Eternals. We got 4 of these Crypt of the Eternals. So this card looks like it should not be in the deck. But that enters the battlefield, gain 1 life clause is huge when paired with Crested Sunmare. So you can play your Crypt of the Eternals as your 5th land, cast Crested Sunmare, and still trigger the Sunmare at the end step, because Sunmare just says at the beginning of each end step if you gain life this turn, so it only checks on the end step. So even though you played your Crypt of the Eternals before Sunmare came down, you'll still get a horse at the end of turn. So it turns Crested Sunmare from just being a 5-mana 5/5 to getting 10 power and toughness on the board immediately. That's big time. Our sideboard looks kind of weird, to be honest. So we got some, fumigates for bigger decks. Sorengrim Nemesis can come in against control, or if we want to just kind of have like a big threat against other mid-range decks. Like, it allows us to go a little bigger. Anguish Unmaking can hit some problematic permanents. Solemnity, it's for the black-green Constrictor deck and for Teamer Energy as well. It's for both of those. I'm not too sure how, if this card is really going to be worth it. But the reason why it's for Teamer Energy, it's because it says players can't get counters. So that includes energy counters there. So I'm pretty interested to see how important this card really is. Warping Whale here in the sideboard does a couple of things. So I think the most important part of this card is going to be the counter target sorcery spell. So whether we want to be able to counter Hour of Promise from a ramp deck, or Approach of the Second Sun from blue-white control. I think that's what Warping Whale is really going to try to do. And we have another deck in stone to round it out. I am kind of surprised there's no discard, no kind of Transgress or anything like that. I guess that'd kind of be the Warping Whale slot. I think I may want to have at least 1 Dispossess in the sideboard, though, for Godpharaoh's Gift. I could see one of those over one of these Solemnities, but I don't know. Let's try it out. So, this had 2 5-0s in a row. So I'm just going to go ahead and use their same list. So, yeah, let's go ahead and use this and go ahead and get to some games.